Hey, Shalom. First off, I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone GMS real well. Peace and salutations unto the elect, which begins with the 144,000. And to all the Akim tuning in, may this lesson be edifying. And to you Akwath as well. You know, this is the brother Halalim from the Great Millstone Chicago camp. And ESAU Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, is trying his best to incite a race war against you Israelites, which consists of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, to the point where even Homeland Security, you know, is coming up with deception and lies in an attempt to incite a full-on war, you know, against Jacob. You know, so that they can come into your neighborhood, snatch you up, you know, beat you, knock you upside the head, you know, hit you with the butt of their gun, so that they can oppress you even more than they already are. You know, because you already have ICE troops, you know, in Chicago, in these different cities across America, so, you know, snatching up the Northern Kingdom, you know, snatching up Jakes, you know, and not even criminals. They're snatching up what you would call a law-abiding citizen, man. You know, these terrorists, you know what I'm saying? These Ku Klux Klan, these modern KKK members, man, these ICE agents. And they're recruiting random people off the street that have a hatred for you Israelites, man. You know, so this video right here, it's called DHS threatens race war with fake video of Israelite team. So I'm going to let this video play for about a minute or two, and may this lesson be edifying to the elect.
All right, guys, we got to talk about this. So you know how we basically have a bunch of young Groiper idiots who are staffing the Republican politicians' campaigns and their cabinets and stuff? Well, now that's all coming to a head because, you know, you're seeing them tweet casual Nazi memes, you know, subtle hidden Heil Hitler stuff, remigrate, which is just a euphemism for ethnic cleansing. Now you have the Department of Homeland Security is trying to start a race war based on fake news and lies. Here's one example right here. So Homeland Security tweets the following: "If you threaten or lay hands on our law enforcement officers, we will hunt you down and you will find out really quick. We'll see you cowards soon." So they tweet this video. We're going to take a look at this video. Ready? So it's a 10-second video. I'm going to mute it because it's copyright music that's playing. But it says on the screen here, ICE, we're on the way. Word in the streets, cartels put a $50K bounty on y'all. And so it's a group of black kids, black teenagers, and, you know, this one's trying to make like a scary looking face or whatever, and cover, you know, putting the mask over his mouth. But the idea is, it looks like they're sort of threatening ICE. They're threatening ICE and saying, we're working with the cartels or whatever to make $50,000 by killing you. So look at this. Ready? Now, again, look at how young these black kids are. I'm actually not even sure. Some of them might not even be teens, right? Like, they might be teens, but some of them look like they might even be younger. This could be like a 12-year-old, right? But Homeland Security tweets this out. Okay, ready for the reality? Here is the original video that they fucking changed the text on. So this was tweeted in the wake of Trump attacking Iran. This was tweeted. This video with the text, "You seen what we can do. Don't say something that you can't finish, Iran. We are already united. We all stand. We want all the smoke." So here we go. So this was a video, like a bunch of... Kid's got fucking braces. Again, he's like 12 years old. This is a video of... If anything, it's sort of like, I mean, I don't think these people are outright political, but it's sort of like a subtle pro-Trump thing, if anything. Because they're...
So that was pretty much all I intended to show. But, you know, as you can see, they took a video of these Jakes saying that they stand against Iran, you know what I'm saying? And they manipulated the video to make it say that they were going up against ICE, man. That they were joining up with the fucking cartels that put a $50K bounty on ICE agents, man. You know? In the original video that you see, It was posted in June of this year, which was around the time when America and Israel were embroiled in that conflict with Iran, when Israel just bombed Iran out of the fucking blue. But as you see, Esau Edom, with those same tactics of deceit and lies, he's trying to incite a race war so that he can have the justification to harm you Israelites, man. So let's go to the scriptures. Let's get the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 2, and verse 11. And it says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. We're not ignorant of the devices of Esau Edom. We know that one of his main tactics, one of his most effective tactics is his lies and his deceit. His ability to deceive people into thinking that he's the good guy, so that he can commit more rape, robbery, murder, killing, extortion, upon those who he deems to be an enemy of this nation, man. And Esau's done this many times before in the past, using this false propaganda, manipulating videos, using pictures that were actually photographed in other parts of the world, all for the purpose of trying to incite something, order out of chaos. That's this man's MO. And they've always had this hatred towards you Israelites, man, since the very beginning, since Jacob and Esau. Let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 27, and verse 39. And it says, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling. Salaki, let me start at verse 38. This was after, Jacob took the blessing. Esau found out that Jacob supplanted him for the blessing. Verse 38, and Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of heaven above. And Esau has indeed been given the fatness of the earth. He's been given, wealth, abundance, and riches. We see that today with the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the DuPont family. But these next verses are the point. Verse 40. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shall serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand, then will I slay my brother Jacob. And this same generational hatred still exists, to this very day. To this day, Esau Edom, his descendants in this present world have this same mindset, man. This is how they're wired to think. They are created to hate Jacob, man, because we are the righteous. We represent the righteous in the earth, man, beginning with the elect. And since Esau was created to be, a vessel of dishonor in the earth, since he was created to be the wicked, it's wired in his DNA to have a hatred for the Israelites, man, and to do everything in his power, in writing policies to bring our people down and find a way to oppress us, man. Ultimately to kill Jacob. Let's get the book of Micah, chapter 2 and verse 1. And I highlighted these scriptures red for a reason. These describe Esau Edom to a T. It says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. Who has the power to practice iniquity, and work evil upon their beds? These Edomites, man. Beginning with the elites on down, the elite billionaires and banking families, that have shareholdings and all the products that you Babylonians use, that own your health, that own debt, that own everything that you buy and purchase. They practice the iniquity because they have the power to do so, man. Verse 2, they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. And Esau Edom has gone all across the world doing that. He did it to the Australian Aborigines. He's ethnically cleansed, the West Asia, what they call the Middle East. And it's currently going on now with this conflict between Israel and Gaza. And ultimately, Esau Edom spoiled the apple of the Lord's eye, which are who? The Israelites, man. And he's seeking to do that once more again, just like how he did it in times past, man. But this time is going to be much worse than before, because we're almost at the end of this thing, man. We're coming into the time of Jacob's trouble, where the wicked of our people are going to be punished. And the Lord is going to actually use Esau Edom as his sword to punish the wicked, man. I want to go to this other video right quick.
Of a race.
Because you had this group chat, with these young Republicans that got leaked. And this really just shows you, the hatred that these Republicans have for you. Really, these Edomite Republicans and these Democrats, man. These political parties simply use Jacob, for their own purposes. They want your vote. But after you vote for them, what do? They oppress you. They take away your benefits, man. They make your living situation harder than what it was before. So I'm going to let this video play.
Well, breaking fuck the news. Leaders of young Republican organizations and groups were worried if their text messages ever got released, but they said what they wanted to anyways. And yes, it was fucking racist. Leaders of the young Republican groups throughout the country worried what would happen if their Telegram chat got leaked, but they kept typing anyways. They referred to black people as monkeys and the watermelon people, and mused about putting their political opponents in gas chambers. They talked about, I have to cover that, graping their enemies and driving them to suicide, and lauded Republicans who they believed support slavery. William Hendricks, the Kansas Young Republicans vice chair, used the N-word, variations of a racial slur, more than a dozen times in a chat. Bobby Walker, the vice chair of New York State, wrote young Republicans at the time referred to grape as epic. Peter whatever the fuck this dude, whoever his name is, who at the time was a chair of the same organization, wrote in the same message sent in June that everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber. Fuckface's name was referring to an upcoming vote on whether he should become chairman of the Young Republican National Federation, GOP's 1,500-member political organization for Republicans between 18 and 40 years old. We'll break.
So a group chat, slacky for the noise in the background. I'm gonna move away from this noise. But as you just heard in that video, this group chat of these Republicans got leaked, and they were talking about how, Jake are monkeys. They talked about their desire to quote unquote to the great people, with a silent G. This is how Esau Edom feels towards you Israelites as a whole, man. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be these governors, these mayors, they may seem like they have your best interest at heart, but deep down inside, that hatred is still in them. That generational, perpetual hatred that Esau has for Jacob, man. And in these last days, man, Esau is going to take out a lot of our people. And we're going to need Yahweh B'Shem Shah on our side now more than ever before. This is the book of Psalms. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 43 and verse 1. This is King David speaking. It says, "Judge me, O Yahweh, and plead my cause against the ungodly nation." Esau is the most ungodly, profane, evil nation on this earth. They shed the most blood on the planet. It says, "Oh, deliver me from the deceitful and unjust man." Right, the lying, the deceitfulness, using this false propaganda, manipulating videos like this. You know what I'm saying? But these YNs making it seem like they're going to join with the cartels against ICE. We need Yahweh B'Shem Shah to deliver us from this deceitful, evil, unlawful, and unjust man. Verse 2, "For thou art the power of my strength. Why doest thou cast me off? Why do I go mourning because of the oppression of the enemy?" So King David was in a very sorrowful spirit, man. You know what I'm saying? Because he was being oppressed by the enemy. And the same thing goes for us men of the Lord today. We are being oppressed by our enemies, man. You know, and we're going to call upon Yahweh B'Shem Shai to deliver us, man. We have the power on our side. You know? Let's get the book of Matthew, chapter 24, and let's see. Let me start at verse 3. It says, and as he, talking about Yahweh Shai, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world? And Yahweh Shai answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Mashiach, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. This next verse is the point. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows, man. You know, so at the top of verse 7, it says what? Nation shall rise against nation. When you go into the word nation, let me pull up the blue letter. Let's see, 24 and 7. And you go into the word nation, it's the Greek word ethnos. It means what? A tribe, nation, a people, or a group. You know, meaning a race of people. So different nations, different races are going to be embroiled in wars against one another, man. You know, in the streets of Babylon, there's going to be race wars. There's going to be class wars. There's going to be political wars. You know, Christians versus Muslims, MAGA versus the liberals. You know, and eventually there's going to be a third world war, which is going to lead and culminate in the destruction of Babylon the Great, man. So I hope this lesson was edifying. And with that, I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praise to Yahweh, B'Shem Yahweh Shai, B'Shem Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone GMS and Will Well. Kwam Yesha'Allah, Wa Abad Babal.